Did you know Chinese President Xi Jinping rebuked Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in public on Wednesday over suspected leaks of their private discussion at the G20 conference? Keep watching to know more. Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, and greetings. Today's video will show you the big clash between Xi Jinping and Justin Trudeau, so stay focused. You might be surprised to see the video of the meeting on the Indonesian island of Bali shows Xi and Trudeau standing close to one another and speaking via a translator, in which Xi dragged the Canadian Prime Minister aside and said it was inappropriate for information about a previous discussion between both leaders to have been shared with the media. We've recently witnessed more than a few unpleasant moments for the world's most ambitious autocrats. Throughout an elaborate ceremony in Moscow, Russian President Vladimir Putin proclaimed huge portions of eastern Ukraine were annexed. His men were defeated and forced to retire for many days. The Vietnamese Prime Minister was captured on a live stream by the U.S. Department of State, making insulting statements against the American president and his administration. Then there were reports that Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau accused China's President Xi Jinping of interfering in his country's elections. A Canadian journalist shared a video of the meeting. The Chinese leader grumbled about how the media had been covering their conversation. After Canadian officials revealed details of a prior encounter, underscoring the cold relationship between the two presidents, Xi Jinping sharply reprimanded Justin Trudeau. Van Jackson, senior professor of international affairs at the Victoria University of Wellington in New Zealand, described the tone as a great power speaking to a smaller power. Xi's words and body posture were not uncommon for government leaders who are not on the best of terms. Xi dragged the Canadian Prime Minister aside and said it was inappropriate for information about a previous discussion between both leaders to have been shared with the media. Xi was visibly upset. His unhappiness was most likely in reaction to media reports that during his meeting with Xi on Tuesday, which was his first with the Chinese leader in more than 3 years, Trudeau raised serious concerns about suspected spying and Chinese intervention in Canadian elections. The footage shows Xi's interpreter remarking to Trudeau, "Everything we talked about was released to the papers. That's not proper." The film recorded a unique, honest moment for Xi, whose public image is assiduously cultivated by Chinese state media. "In Canada, we believe in free, open, and candid communication, and that is what we will strive to have," says Trudeau in response to Xi's first critique. "We will continue to strive to work productively together, however there will be issues we disagree on. Create the circumstances and establish the conditions, okay?" Xi interrupts him before he can continue speaking, seeming a little frustrated, before grinning, shaking Trudeau's hand, and leaving. Regarding the discussions between Xi and Trudeau, the Chinese Interior Ministry nor state television have released any information. According to a government source, the two had a 10-minute informal discussion on Tuesday before the G20 conference. According to the website of the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Xi had conducted 9 official bilateral discussions with other heads of state while at the summit. Trudeau confirmed the talk and his arguments to Xi during a press conference after the G20, but Canada never publicly reported the meeting. According to a press conference transcript, Trudeau stated, "Canada trusts its people with information about the discussions that we conduct on their behalf as a government." But before he can continue, a very frustrated Mr. Xi interrupts him, loudly saying, "Create the conditions, create the circumstances, okay?" before grinning, shaking Mr. Trudeau's hand, and leaving. The Chinese Foreign Ministry and official media have not released any information on the discussions between Mr. Xi and Mr. Trudeau. According to a government source, the two had a casual encounter on Tuesday outside the G20 conference. Although Mr. Trudeau confirmed the discussion and his comments to Mr. Xi during a press conference after the G20, Canada did not provide an official readout of the meeting. A representative for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, Mao Ning, said that the video showed the two leaders having a regular chat. At a routine press conference on Thursday, she added, "I don't believe that President Xi should be regarded as President Xi condemning or blaming anybody." Mao said that China never meddles in the internal affairs of other nations, and that it is up to Canada to foster better ties. At a press conference on Wednesday in Bali, when questioned about the video, Trudeau said that he had brought up the issue of outside influence with Xi. He added that we must keep advocating for the issues that matter to Canadians, even if conversations won't always be straightforward. "We always do this, and we will keep doing this." In response to a query about whether Xi's clash was a power move, Trudeau dodged the issue. According to Brian Lee Crowley, general manager of the Macdonald Laurier Institute in Ottawa, Xi seems to be showing complete scorn for Trudeau in the video. It is rare for a Chinese leader to behave in this manner, since, as you must be aware, in Chinese culture, neither you nor your interlocutor is expected to cause the other to lose face. But it is clear from his crimson face that Xi Jinping is acting with a purpose. The fact that he moves his arms when he meets with someone indicates that he is anxious. He was trying to convey a message. Unfortunately, Prime Minister Trudeau cut off the translator to challenge Xi Jinping, so we couldn't hear what he had to say. Saint-Jacques stated in a CTV News interview that good news for the Prime Minister. "By this guy won't even look at him. Trudeau is frantically seeking to be taken seriously," the speaker said. Xi continually turns away from him. The body language is awful. Crowley said that Trudeau was likely addressing more people than just Xi, since he is under pressure from concerned Canadians, Americans, and other liberal democracies to take a harsher stance on China. In terms of domestic public opinion, I believe it was a minor success for Trudeau, but he added it was noted in Washington. Allegations that Beijing meddled in Canada's 2019 election have increased tensions between the two countries lately. Last week, Foreign Minister Mélanie Joly referred to China as an increasingly disruptive global force. At the same time, Trudeau said that China and other state actors were engaging in aggressive games to undermine democratic institutions. An employee of Hydro-Quebec, Canada's biggest energy generator, was detained on suspicion of espionage for China when Trudeau and Xi were at the G20 conference. 3 Chinese businesses were forced to sell their holdings in vital Canadian minerals by the Canadian government at the beginning of this month due to national security concerns. Police in Canada is also looking into claims that as part of a campaign targeting Chinese dissidents abroad, Chinese authorities established covert police stations in the Toronto region. Beijing claims that the overseas outposts serve as service centers, among other things, for Chinese people who are residing abroad to renew their driver's licenses. In September 2021, Meng was permitted to return to China, while Kovrig and Spavor had been held for more than 1,000 days on suspicion of espionage. Despite having individual talks with Australian Prime Minister Scott Morrison, French President Emmanuel Macron, and President Joe Biden during the G20 summit. The Canadian pool camera caught a heated exchange between Prime Minister Trudeau and Chinese President Xi today at the G20. According to a tweet from Annie Bergeron-Oliver of the Canadian Press, CTV National News, Xi voiced his annoyance that everything said yesterday had been leaked to the papers. That's not right, and it's not how the talk was handled. Anthony Albanese, he and Trudeau did not meet in such a way. In the video, Xi can be heard complaining that the Canadian press was informed about negotiations between China and Canada. Earlier on Tuesday, the two leaders held a meeting outside the summit. However, it wasn't only what was said that attracted people's attention, but also how it was said. According to a former Canadian ambassador to China, it was infrequent for a Chinese leader to behave this way, and a hint that China believes Canada is a little nation. This act demonstrates Xi Jinping's desire to convey a powerful message to the party leader and other world leaders, and there doesn't seem to be much compassion for Mr. Trudeau. Xi Jinping considers Canada to be a little nation. He has little time for Trudeau, which illustrates how difficult it will be to re-establish even the briefest of connections. Respect should be reciprocated, and inevitably, Prime Minister Trudeau would not have appreciated receiving such a public reprimand from Xi Jinping, Saint-Jacques concluded. That's all we have for you today. Take a look at the big clash between Xi Jinping and Justin Trudeau. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see all future videos, subscribe to the channel and switch on notifications. First and foremost, what do you think about these leaders, and how can you justify them more precisely? Please participate and share your thoughts in the comments section below. Thank you so much for watching.